So today I wanted to do a live reaction to this PragerU video that I haven't seen yet. Normally I'm exposed to PragerU videos not through my own choice, but through the creators I watch on YouTube when they talk about them. I haven't seen this one yet, so I wanted to just kind of see where their opinions are going to fall about why they love America, or I guess whoever's speaking in the video about why they love America. I also think it's a pretty interesting juxtaposition to release this video, which was around a week ago when it was released, and to have it in the midst of this pandemic ravaging our country in a very unique way in comparison to other countries. So, yeah, I just want to kind of see where their reasoning lies, and yeah, let's see what PragerU's talking about here.
I am a third-generation American. My parents and my maternal grandmother were born in Brooklyn, New York. But I didn't know I loved America until my early 20s. In my third year of college, I studied in England and began a life of travel that eventually took me to 130 countries. That was when I began to understand.
Okay, can I just say, traveling to 130 countries in your 20s, I'm jealous. Anyway, that's freaking awesome.
How important America was to the world, and still is. That was when I began to understand how unique America was, and still is. That was when I began to appreciate the decency of the American people. Being away from America for a year, spending the Christmas season in Morocco where there was no Christmas season, and ending the year with a month in the Soviet Union where there was no freedom, this all had a life-changing impact on me. I realized how lucky I was to be an American. I even realized how much I simply enjoyed being an American. I'll explain. 1. How important America is to the world.
Okay, so before we get into this, he said something about Singapore and how he was there during what would be considered the Christmas season in the United States, but there was nothing going on related to Christmas in Singapore. That may not be one of their cultural customs to celebrate Christmas in that country. And obviously, if you're not within all the Christmas cheer and jolly, good feelings of the Christmas season that takes place in America, I mean, you can literally feel Christmas in the air after Thanksgiving. So, for him to be in a whole different country and not feel that, I mean, it's kind of like a duh moment, like, duh, you know? I don't understand. Maybe he expected something different. And the animation is really sneaky too, because the animation showed like a little Singapore-esque scenery, and it had Christmas lights, and then he talked about how there was no Christmas, and then they removed the Christmas lights. So I'm not really sure why that was done. He could have just said, well, you know, Christmas is really important to me because I spend time with my family, and I didn't get to spend time with my family when I was in Singapore during Christmas time that year. But I'm sure Singapore probably has their own customs that people in that country would get the same joy and excitement that you get whenever Christmas rolls around in the United States. Yeah, that was just my only gripe so far with what he said.
Without in any way diminishing the enormous sacrifices made by England and France, it was America's entry into World War I that made the defeat of Imperial Germany possible and ended that horrible war. It was America that made the Allied victory possible in World War II and kept Western Europe free during the Cold War. 37,000 Americans died fighting the North Korean and Chinese communist regimes. Were it not for America, all of Korea would have no human rights and would endure the mass torture, starvation, and murder that have been routine in North Korea until today. The next time you hear...
Okay, so the point about America being so influential in wars, I mean, I understand that, being that we have the largest military presence of any country that's ever existed. I mean, I guess I can understand how that's a good thing, but I, when you place that next to certain things that were going on at the time while America was fighting those wars, and you talk about the fact that the United States literally has has been going through a sort of neo-Nazi hyper right-wing awakening in like current times, and then talking about how America was the key factor to defeating Nazis. It's kind of like well, what do you do you realize what you're saying, you know, like considering the current times. I think it's so PragerU-ish to reminisce upon the great things America has done while not acknowledging all the horrible things they've done and all the horrible things it's, you know, this country's still doing. Yeah, I just thought it was very ironic how he mentioned America helping to defeat the Nazis when there's literally a new wave of Nazis that are rising up right now. But yeah, on to the next one.
Hear the lie that America fought in Vietnam for colonialist reasons, ask that person, why did America fight in Korea? I'll tell you why. To stop the spread of communism, the greatest genocidal and totalitarian ideology in history, and thereby enable more than half of Korea to live in freedom.
To the point about communism being the greatest totalitarian, whatever you just said, no, that's just not accurate at all.
Another 58,000 Americans died in Vietnam to enable the South Vietnamese to live in the same freedom America made possible for South Koreans. Neither Vietnam nor Korea had any natural resources that America wanted. Americans died in those two countries solely so that their people could be free. And without diminishing the role of the great British Prime Minister Margaret Thatcher and the great Pope John Paul II, it was America that ended communism in the Soviet Union, Poland, East Germany, Hungary, Czechoslovakia, Romania, and Bulgaria. And
so, I mean, at this point, we're halfway through the video. I don't know if this is going to be like an America versus communism thing. And it seems to be all like super historical, like historically centered, instead of like talking about, well, you know, America was doing great things in the past, but what is America doing now? Which is what I kind of assumed this video would be about, but I guess there isn't really too much good to talk about in that aspect. Yeah, I don't know how true this list is about America defeating communism. This just sounds like Cold War propaganda to me, but I think this is just playing on the misconception of what communism is or how it's been implemented, and this whole communism versus capitalism discussion, how America is basically a bastion of capitalism, which if you kind of look at things how things are right now, it kind of doesn't fall too well on capitalism side. But anyway, yeah, I'm kind of confused on the point of this video.
liberated, among other nations, Ukraine, Azerbaijan, Latvia, Lithuania, and Estonia. 2. America is unique. America is the only country that was founded not on a race, ethnicity, or nationality, but on an idea: limited government, because the founders of America believed first and foremost in liberty. America became the freest country in world history.
Do I really need to say why America wasn't the freest country on its founding? Wow, this is really like let's take all the good parts of American history and what America has done across the globe and ignore all the bad parts and just say, well, I love America for all these good things and forget about the bad things because they don't matter.
Which is why France gave the statue.
Also, America was founded on racial supremacy. It was that there were slaves that were brought in the 1600s to the United States, and those slaves built the economic wealth of the South and the country at large, for free. Yeah, so.
Statue of Liberty to one country, America. And America has given more liberty and opportunity to more people from more nations than any country in world history. Yes, America allowed slavery in half of its states, but every society in the world practiced slavery. What rendered America unique is that Americans killed one another in its bloodiest war to abolish slavery, and that it eventually became the least racist, multiracial country in history.
Okay, wow. Um, where do I start? That was the most revisionist, like, euphemistic BS I've ever. Okay, wow. Let's go back here because that 10 or 15 seconds was a lot. Okay, this part about the United States allowing slavery. Okay. That's interesting because a lot of the quote unquote more developed countries at the time who were practicing slavery, which by the way, most of those countries ended slavery before the United States did. And it's interesting he mentions the point about the United States killing, or United States citizens killing each other to end slavery or fighting a war over slavery, while other countries just ended it in legal matters without the whole war part. I don't understand why that's a good thing. So yeah, just let's just say it's good that America killed so many of its own citizens to end slavery. Doesn't that speak badly on the United States and its reliance on slavery? Because it took a war to end slavery in the United States, but in other countries it took just laws being passed, and there was backlash obviously, but there were no large scale wars that caused thousands of deaths. Okay, that's that part. The next part that's really interesting is when he talks about yeah, that's the war part. When he talks about, yeah, this is the killing each other. I talked about that already. Yeah, I once again, I don't get the we had to fight a war to end slavery, so therefore that's a good thing. No, that's unique in a bad way. It shouldn't take a country a war to say, enslaving people is morally wrong. Let's just pass a law to end it. Like, are you what? That makes no sense. The next part where he says that America became one of the most multiracial and least racist countries. No. I mean, yes, every country has civil rights abuses that are placed upon the backs of minorities. Yes, okay. But to sit here and say that America became the least racist country, I mean, after when? Maybe I should just play the video and see what else he says about this part, because I I just don't understand this whole least racist comment.
Country in history. It remains the only white majority country to have ever elected a black leader. And Africans know how good America is, which is why by the 1980s, more black Africans had come to America voluntarily as immigrants seeking freedom and opportunity than ever came as slaves. 3. American.
So what? That's not a point. I mean, the Africans know that America is good, so therefore they come to America for opportunity. What kind of a point is that? That's okay.
Americans are decent people. Ask visitors what they think of Americans. They're likely to tell you how friendly Americans are. There are mean and bad Americans, and there are kind and good people in every country. But having traveled abroad every year of my life since college, and to all 50 American states, and being sensitive to people's goodness and happiness, I have been continually amazed at the essential decency of most Americans. I fell in love with America at the age.
Essential decency? I mean, there's so many things to say about that. What? Like, I mean, he says that there's good people in every country and there's also bad Americans, but he's traveled everywhere and he's amazed by the essential decency of people who live in the United States. I mean, I don't know how much of that is actually an argument because the man has grown up in the US, I'm assuming. So that's what he would be used to versus someone who may have grown up in an East African country or in the United Kingdom or like I don't understand what is this essential decency? Like he's talking about it like Americans just have this niceness to them that's sort of inherent because they're American. Like it's really weird and I don't like it and it's also not true. Um Also, I know this is kind of like a joke on the internet, but people always say that whenever Americans visit other countries, how they're the rudest type of tourist. I don't know how true that is, but it's just something that's kind of been circulating for like years now. Yeah, I that was just a very weird digression into something that literally has no basis in reality, and it's just like he's arguing from feelings. Yeah, let's actually go back a few seconds because there was something else that I wanted to talk about that I forgot.
I have been continually amazed at the essential decency of my life since college, and to all 50 American states, and being sensitive to people's goodness and happiness, I have been continually amazed at the essential decency of most Americans. I fell in love with America at the age of 20, and given the freedom, the opportunities, and the religious tolerance I have experienced, I realize all these years later that America has loved me too. I'm Dennis Prager. This video was
Okay, wow. Yeah, so the first 80% of the video was talking about America in historical context and just leaving out all the bad things America did. I mean, he talked about slavery and then tried to make a point about how America fought a war with slavery and said that's a good thing that only America fought a war over, which that's not a good thing. You should have just ended it legally and kept it moving, but whatever. Also, the point about wars, I mean, the irony of fighting against Nazis in World War II, but now there's a neo-Nazi uprising in America. It's becoming far more acceptable. Hello, Charlottesville. Um, I just I don't even know what else to say. This guy is the creator of PragerU, by the way, which many of you probably already know that. Um, yeah, I don't even I don't know. I don't know what to say about this video. Most of it was about historical stuff and only saying the nebulous good things and leaving out all the underlying crap beneath it, and just revising history to make America look like they were just the best ever and never did anything wrong, or at least did enough good to outweigh the bad. And then the last 20% of the video was talking about um, him traveling and how Americans are just nicer people than everywhere else. I mean, I guess if that's his lived experience, but who knows if that's actually true? I mean, you like I was saying in the beginning of this video before it started. Releasing this right now during this pandemic, just it says a lot. And the fact that even the current state of America that he talked about wasn't even the current state of America. He couldn't bring it all the way up to the present where we are now, because that would reflect badly on the United States. So yeah, this video was trash per the usual. Yeah, that was just really bad.